What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to Around the VLA. Happy Tuesday night. It is March 28th. This is Season 3, Episode 8. My name is Rob St. Clair, live from Chicago. That is my co-host, Vince Zanzucchi, live from Phoenix, Arizona. And it's a good week, Vince, for the VLA. We have got another Divisional Cup Series tournament to look forward to, the final of the series before we look forward to the big one in Chicago. But we've got the East Division Cup headed to Albany, New York this weekend. And you're in the right place for us to break it down. You looking forward to this thing, watching from a couple time zones away?
Yeah, no, these Division Cups are a lot of fun to watch. The Central Division Cup was amazing, and I'm expecting pretty much the same thing from the East Division Cup.
So East Division Cup, a relatively simple tournament compared to the two previous. I think West Cup in San Diego was something like 14 teams. Central Cup in Chicago was 20. The East Division Cup will feature 10. So 10 teams. We've got all the info up on the website already. So let's put that on the screen. You can check all this out at the Volleyball League of America website. Links in the description. All you need to know about the East Division Cup. So this is being hosted by Team LVC out of Albany, New York, a new venue for us called the Impact Athletics Center. I am told that it's supposed to be beautiful, and I'm very much looking forward to checking it out. It's actually in the town of Half Moon in the burbs of Albany, but I know Hosley and the Team LVC guys have done a great job putting this event together. Same with Novice, our beloved apparel sponsor. Those guys based in Albany as well. So we know that there's going to be plenty good hospitality to have the VLA in town over the weekend in Albany.
Yeah, I wish I was making it out to this one. It sounds like it's going to be a really fun event.
Yeah, we're going to meet up with the Novice guys on Friday at their HQ. It's going to be a blast. It's going to set the tone for the weekend really nicely. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. A couple simple things, just kind of the overview for the tournament before we dig into the format. This, if you're familiar with the league and if you're familiar with these sort of cup tournaments, is going to be pretty similar, a little bit more abbreviated in terms of how many teams and how many matches there are going on at a time, because they're running this thing on only 2 courts. But as we've gotten used to, schedule-wise, on Saturday during pool play, and there's a couple rounds of bracket on Saturday, we're not going to have any set, like, guaranteed match times. We're going to start at 7:30 in the morning Eastern, which is pretty ridiculous if Vince wants to get up early and watch those first games.
I'll be up.
Oh, yeah. So 7:30 a.m. Eastern first serve for pool play. And then after that, as soon as a match ends, the 30-minute warm-up for the next match on that court starts right away. So there are no guaranteed match times. We're going to get these done as soon as we can after the previous match is over. The warm-up for the next match will start. So that's how that's going to go. But then on Sunday, there's 4 rounds of matches, and those will have set match times unless we have to push them back later. Actually, let's scroll down and check that out in a little bit more detail. So here's what we're looking at for pool play on Saturday. We've got 5 rounds of pool play. We have 3 pools. We'll talk about those in a minute. And then Saturday afternoon, we have 2 rounds of bracket play. We got the bracket play-in games, and then 1 group of the quarterfinals. Before we look forward to Sunday, 4 rounds of matches there, culminating in the championship on Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern. So compared to the Central Division Cup, I personally am kind of excited about this because I think this format is, for me having my boots on the ground at Albany, this tournament's basically going to run itself. It's going to be great. I'm going to have a great chance to just watch 2 courts at once, really digest all the volleyball that's going on, and bring it to all you good people. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's really nice, actually, that we're able to focus a little bit more on the specific matches. It's always great to have just a huge quantity of matches going on during these cup events, but at the same time, it's good to kind of dial back a little bit so that some of these teams get a little bit more focus and attention based on them.
That's right. And yeah, all 10 of these teams playing this weekend are going to have, they're certainly going to have their turn in the spotlight. So I think let's jump straight into the pools, Vince. We can talk about the pools, the teams, and the format. Starting off with Pool A. We've got the number 1 seed overall and the host Team LVC, the top ranked of the 3 East Division Tier 1 teams right now, but not by much. We talked about it after the Boston event that LVC not having a great weekend there in Boston has made the East Division a lot tighter than we may have expected it to be, but they still do get the 1 seed overall in the tournament. Their 2 seed in their pool is the New York Lost Travelers, who get the 6 seed overall. I'm excited to see that little in-state rivalry. And then the 7 seed overall, the Kentucky Unicorns. We've seen them take down Tier 1 teams already this season, and that match, LVC versus the Unicorns, is first thing in the morning on Saturday, so that'll be a good one. 3-team pool format. really, really simple, just round robin, 3 matches. All 3 teams will play one another. Best match win loss. After that, we'll take first, second, and third in the pool in that order. We'll break the tie if we have to. But Vince, what are your thoughts on this pool? Teams 1, 6, and 7 overall. My pick has to be LVC. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that, but I would have to say that they definitely have to be on the lookout early morning for the Kentucky Unicorns. Those guys really know how to put solid matches together, especially when they are fresh, and they will be obviously at 7 in the morning, ready to go. So they play with a lot of intensity, and if LVC sleeps on them a little bit, I think that could definitely go to the Unicorns. However, I think that LVC's experience and the roster that they're fielding in this event, I think that they have a really good shot to definitely win this pool.
Yeah, I think they might be my favorites right now to win this tournament. We can talk about LVC's roster. If you watch the event in Boston where they went 1-3 and struggled against their division opponents, their issue in that event was setter. No Joby Ramos, reigning MVP of the league. Still no Joby Ramos this weekend, but they do have a little bit more reliability in the form of an old flashback LVC setter name resurfacing, Luke Braswell out of Penn State, who set LVC at the very first VLA event ever back in 2020. He returns probably as the starting setter, as does Luke's brother, a new face, Stephen Braswell, an outside hitter out of St. Francis, who is college teammates with Mike Marshman and some other LVC guys. He's going to provide some size and wing firepower for LVC. So that's nice to see. But also, we get Blake Leeson back in the VLA mix for the first time. We were expecting him to maybe play the whole season. He got a late minute second half of the season contract to go play in Sweden, but he is back stateside, and the last year's first team all VLA middle blocker is ready to wreak havoc on this tournament. I'm excited to see Blake.
Yeah, it's always exciting to see one of the best players in the league performing finally. And yeah, good congrats for him and getting the contract to go overseas, but having him back is really huge for the league, and obviously Team LVC, they desperately needed some of that firepower. I don't think that that was really the issue with their last event, but I think that he just had something special for them, and obviously one of the most dominant middles in the game.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch him. I'm remembering back to last year's East Division Cup in Buffalo, where Team LVC was again kind of decimated with their roster, and they were dealing with Eric Martin setting all 6 rotations. And I remember Blake and Lance Rogers, who's also suiting up for LVC this weekend, split blocking in the middles, and when E was front court, he wouldn't even block, and Blake and Lance would literally block the entire net basically by themselves, and they still got third in that tournament. So LVC a little more full force this time, but I'm just excited to see Blake Leeson back, so that'll be cool. Huge core of middles as usual. Lance Rogers, John Keller, AJ Witkowski, Ryan Carty. You get Jordan Vari back on the right side. You get Dave Evans, Andrew Fishman, Steve Braswell, like I said, Nicky Smith, and then Michael Pelletier. We haven't seen Pelly play for LVC in a while, so looking forward to that. Hosley, of course, will be around. A couple other backups at different positions. I think they've got 15 guys on the roster, does LVC. That is not more than they usually field, and I think Hosley's goal at home is to go out and win this tournament.
Yeah, I think
obviously.
So. I think that this is even with the addition of Braswell or a re-addition of Braswell, this is a huge shout out to that 2020 team at the Kickoff Classic. A lot of guys that are coming back for that, and it's going to look very similar to that. They had a really, really solid roster through and through, and I think that adding the depth that they have, they're taking this event really seriously. So, which they need to. I think that this is something that eluded them last year. They haven't won a cup yet, and so this is something that I think is kind of important for them.
Yeah, I agree. It's a chance to defend home turf. It's the event that they run. They set it up, and I would say their main tier 1 competitors across the entire league have kind of set a real precedent this year, with the Rising Tide winning the West Cup and the Icemen winning the Central Division Cup. I would say LVC considers themselves in a tier amongst those 2 other teams as real championship contenders. And I think to keep pace, there is a little bit of pressure on them to go out and win this tournament. I think they are the favorites, but they certainly have the horses to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So moving on in this pool, we've got the New York Lost Travelers, who have played a lot of volleyball already this year. This will be their 3rd Division Cup. I think they're the only team playing all 3, if I'm not mistaken, which is incredible. racking up a bunch of points. They played some good ball, got about as far as they ever have in a cup tournament back in Chicago, which was nice to see. And here in a 10-team event, it's a chance for the Lost Travelers and Terrence Crossan's guys to really make some noise. I think Final Four, like semis, would be a really good achievement for this Lost Traveler squad.
Yeah, I agree. I think that they're kind of, I don't want to say due for a successful event like that, but they've really put themselves in position to have that event. I think that the roster that they're fielding this event, they got a good shot to do it. I would like to see them do it. I think that they've had a few matches here and there where they maybe because of depth or late in events where they just kind of ran out of gas, and so they weren't able to really complete the full tournament. I think that their roster now, I think they have 10 guys, 12 guys on the roster, which is
I
great.
see 13.
13 guys, yeah.
Which is great. I mean, it's a relatively local event for them, especially compared to San Diego or Chicago coming from Long Island. But they've got a chance to really field a great squad. They've got a couple names that I love. Nick O'Malley in the middle, I love. Matt Ambridge on the right side, I really like. Anson Webb, first time seeing him in the middle this year. Two good liberos, two good setters. Just a lot of good wing options. I like this Lost Travelers team. This pool A. This pool A is pretty stacked. I think all three of these matches are going to be really good.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely think that any one of them can go any way. It really will come down to who wants it more, and we'll just kind of see how these connections go. I think that Lost Travelers has really developed a pretty solid connection this year with the chemistry in their team, and I think that if they're going to do some damage, this is definitely the event to do it.
For sure. Yeah. A great chance. And just to keep racking up points, like we talked about them on the last show, kind of where they're sitting at in the tier 2 standings and kind of just where their program is at relative to the league, just going to the events, getting 6, 8, 9, maybe 10 points per event is good for them. But not only are we talking about the points, we're talking about trying to win a cup event here. So teams certainly have both things on their mind. As do the Kentucky Unicorns, last team in this pool. We saw them make a huge splash in Chicago, beating Swede in pool play, but they had so many matches to play on that day one that they definitely ran out of gas. Only 8 guys on the roster this weekend for Shane Green's guys, 3 outsides, but other than that, they've basically only got 1 guy at every position. However, this is a much more forgiving tournament format in terms of just raw number of games and kind of spacing between them. A lot easier to manage this one than it was in Chicago, especially in the Unicorns case, because they had to play 4 on day one, upsetting their 1 seed. The Pieper brothers, Corey and Casey, are unbelievable. As good of a wing duo as there is anywhere in the league. And they're pretty good in just about every other area. And other than maybe all around ball control, I really like this Unicorns team, and they've certainly tasted success. So I'm curious to see what they do against like heavy hitters like Team LVC first thing in the morning.
Yeah, exactly. And then coming in fresh, I see them doing a lot of damage right away. I could see them, really contending with LVC to start off. And I think that they're going to be very dangerous first thing in the morning on Sunday. But we'll see how they do later in late Saturday is really the question for them, how they're going to perform there. So max that they're going to play is 5 if they get to the finals. But I think that they're looking at playing four matches right now, and I think that they could be I wouldn't pick them over LVC, but they can definitely be a favorite against a lot of the other matchups they would see.
Yeah, and chance for 4 at least, maybe 5 matches is a great chance for a lot of points as well. And I know they just racked up some in an exhibition event down at home. Yeah, so
they are the number 1 seed for tier 2 teams intending to play the championship. So I'm sitting at 19 over for the season. This is actually kind of an important one for them to basically solidify a tier 2 championship tournament berth. So this could be something that's really important for them moving forward.
Yeah, so keep your eyes not only on how far teams are going to try and win the tournament, but how many points they're getting. That's really big. We'll take a look at the standings later on. But yeah, the Unicorns will see what they learned from their Central Division Cup experience in terms of roster management. Not that they have a whole lot of options with just 8 guys, but see how they attack this tournament with a little bit more experience under their belt. So Pool A going to be really good. Format really simple, 3-team round robin. If one of the teams goes 2-0, they'll take the 1 seed. Moving on to Pool B, exactly the same deal. Another 3-team pool led up by the number 2 seed overall, the Boston Bounce. Vince, stop me if you've heard this one before. Boston appears, as far as I'm looking at on the roster here, to be rolling in with something like 20 guys. Shocker.
Yeah, they travel big, you know.
It's
it's
unbelievable.
I mean, it's really awesome to see. I mean, because it does give them a lot of opportunities. There's no excuse for being tired at the end of the event. And so they got to the finals last year. This is something I think that they feel was a missed opportunity for them. And I think that they're going to try to pull out all the stops, and they're gonna make it happen this year. That's their goal. Whether or not they can, it still kind of depends on what we've talked about with them. Their issue always, okay, who is their starting seven? Who is their main guys to play the big moments, to play the big matches? And we'll see if they define that a little bit more. They've looked better, but again, we talked about that, them dropping the matches to LVC last tournament. They went 1-1 with them, and we just weren't sure. Or did they go 2-0 against LVC? And then
They beat LVC twice
Yeah.
and lost to Northeast Force
but then
twice.
lost
Yeah.
to Force because of the roster management, and so that's just one of those things. Has Boston learned yet to win this event? We'll see. They have the potential to. They have the roster to. It's whether or not they play the right guys at the right time.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm glad you brought up last year, because last year's East Division Cup was sort of the craziest and most unexpected, maybe, of any tournament that we've had. I mean, with LVC's roster issues, they were kind of taken out of contention. Boston had a really, really good opportunity to win that tournament, got to the finals and couldn't quite get it done. So is that continuing to be a motivator for them or an educator for them on how to manage a tournament like this? It's always a team I'm really interested to look at. We've seen Boston, I mean, going back to, I think, their first VLA Cup in 21, they came out and beat the Icemen first thing.
They beat Ruckus actually first thing.
They beat Ruckus first thing.
And
they won yeah, I remember they won that pool. They've done some damage in these tournaments before as in sort of the underdog role, but then fizzled out later in the tournaments. This now has a chance as one, if not the tournament favorite. I'd say it's really them and LVC. Can they take a tournament where they've really got a great chance to go really, really deep, and they're not going to care about the points so much as the cup win? That would be enormous for guaranteeing them spot in the playoffs for Tier 1.
Yeah, I think so. I think that their focus is definitely getting the win here. They're going to get points. They're just a team that they can get wins when they need to. They have Force's number when they need it. They need to really focus right now on this event and making sure that they could put themselves in a position to get to the finals again.
And they very well could. So Boston, definitely the deepest and probably the most overall talented team in this pool, but can they put it together? We will see. The matchup I'm most excited to see them play is against the River City Flow. Flow out of Richmond, Virginia, made a pretty good run in this tournament last year. They've got a handful of rotating cast of characters. Still no Sam Albus. They're kind of heart and soul at opposite. He's coaching, but good setter Anthony Rivera, a couple new characters that we got to know in Chicago, and they've got a certain guy whose name I recognize from Vince's roster. Vince, you're lending him Mike Freitag in the middle this weekend, huh?
Yeah, Mike Freitag. He's a New York guy, and River City Flow needed a little bit of depth, and so Freitag was available for them to compete. And so I think he adds a lot of depth to their roster. I think that they have been traveling to a lot of these events very, very thin, and this is something that they could maybe capitalize on. If they have a potential to go and win the Pool B, if they can win this pool, set themselves up to where they only have to play 2 to get to the finals, I think that they could be in a good position to maybe even see like an LVC in the finals, but they really have to take care of business in this pool, which I think that they can do.
Yeah, they certainly could. They'll play Boston in the last match of pool play, and that's going to be fireworks for sure. I think there'll be a lot on the line by the time they both get there. Good to see James Hosley on the roster. He's suiting up a potential matchup maybe in the playoffs of the Hosley brothers. That'll be pretty fun to watch.
Yeah, if Chris doesn't play that match, I know James will. Chris may hide, I don't know, but
yeah,
he may be hiding behind Jordan Vari, but I don't know. James will definitely step up and play, and that would be really exciting to see. So I hope that does happen.
Yeah, shout outs to Flo. Also, I might go out on a limb and say it right now. The new Flow novice jerseys this year are my favorite in the league. They're absolutely fantastic. I love them. And Sam, if you're listening, if you got any extras, save one for your favorite commentator. Well, we're going to Novice HQ. Maybe they have some extras.
Yeah, they probably do.
Find my way to grab some free gear this weekend. All right. Last but not least in this pool, let's see, what seed is that? So Boston number 2, Flow number 5, the number 8 seed overall in the tournament, the Columbus Crimson. And it's crazy that Columbus is 8th overall out of 10 teams because they've got like 16 points. They've got a bunch of points. 17 points. Like that's a lot of points to be seeded 8th out of 10. That's kind of the depth of this tournament that we're talking about, which I absolutely love. Columbus, pretty good in Chicago. Played a lot of exhibitions, have had a lot of success, have racked up a lot of points, but maybe they can do some damage in this pool. They did win their pool in Chicago, although Emiola got upset and helped them out in that way. But I'm curious. I still don't know that much about this Crimson team, to be honest. I see them winning kind of mid-level matches here and there, but I've yet to see them beat somebody that really kind of makes a splash on the league scale.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one for them because they came out, they had a really good Chicago tournament. Then they played 2 exhibition matches against Steel City Surge, lost there in Pittsburgh. So they're one of those teams that is definitely kind of a hot and cold group, but it does really depend on the roster that they're bringing. Their roster, from what I'm looking at, isn't quite as strong as some of the rosters that they have had. I think that they'll have a much stronger roster come VLA Cup time, but I think that this event is definitely not their strongest group that they're bringing. But they're still not a team you can look past. I definitely think that if either Bounce or Flow sleeps on them, they will go in there. They're so experienced. They played more matches than any team in the league at this point. And so they're definitely
18
experienced.
matches this year. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, and they have 2 cups coming up, and they're going to probably finish this year playing about 30 to 35 matches, and their goal is definitely to get to Tier 2 championships. So they're doing a lot of the right things, but they've put themselves in a great position. Even though they're 8th overall in this event, they're just climbing the ladder, and they're going to just continue to move up. So, I wish them the best of luck on this one, but I know that they're riding a little thin in this event compared to some of the other ones that they've played.
Yeah, I think points are going to be more of a premium for the Crimson rather than stealing the tournament. Although it's been done before, and last year it was done by the 2 seed in this pool, the Cleveland Kong, rebrand of Team ECV. Like, they came into this tournament last year and won, and then kind of shook up the whole league. And that one cup win that Cleveland has been making the East Division interesting ever since. So we're looking at Pool C here now, the only 4-team pool in this event. Format here a little bit different, not a round robin, but a bracket pool. So the Northeast Force, the 3 seed overall, will take on the Niagara Frontiersmen, the 10 seed overall, in sort of a pool semifinal. Then Cleveland Kong, the 4 seed overall, takes on the Beer City Brewers out of Grand Rapids, the 9 seed overall. The winners will play for 1st and 2nd, and the losers will play for 3rd and 4th in the pool. So that's how that bracket's going to work. But each team is guaranteed to play only twice, only 4 matches total. So it's not like that 5-team pool like in Chicago where it's possible to play 3 matches if you upset your 1 seed. So respectable amount of volleyball across the board in this tournament. But interesting one here in the first round, Force versus Frontiersmen is a repeat of last year's, I think, a quarterfinal at this tournament.
Round 1.
Round 1, where the Frontiersmen got their first win ever and knocked out a Tier 1 team. Like, I think it was a crazy 5-setter, if I remember right.
Yep, 5-setter. And Frontier came out, and as the 8 seed overall, Force stole they were the 7 seed based off of the pool.
I think it was Force, 8, because I'm pretty sure there were only 8 teams in this tournament last year.
There was only 8, but where they were seeded based off of the pools, it was 2 and 7. And so, I mean, Frontier basically lost throughout. Force won their pool by beating Bounce, and it was a two-team pool, or 4-team pool, and they beat Bounce, won the pool, and then ran up against Frontier. Frontier was actually the 8 seed; they were the 2 seed, and they huge upset. I mean, that kind of shook things up because it did lead the way for Kong to actually go in and take the tournament. So I think that it's only fitting that these two see each other in this first round. Nice little rematch for both of them, and we'll see what if Forest takes this one. A little bit more seriously, maybe a little more focused, considering Niagara Frontier actually has the 1-0 advantage on them so far.
Yeah, a lot of callbacks to last year's East Division Cup in this pool, which is really cool. And the Northeast Forest, we've talked about them. Rough start to the season, going 0-4, but then completely turned it around in Boston and have really put themselves potentially in playoff position if they can have a good tournament here. And that's the key, because they're going to play a couple tier 2 teams. They're going to play the Frontiersmen. They're going to play then either Cleveland or Beer City, and like they need points. They need points in those matches to make the playoffs in tier 1. They really need those points. They need to win a bracket game. If they don't, they need to win a consolation match. Like points are at a huge premium for the Northeast Forest here. I gotta say, I don't love the roster I'm seeing. I don't love it. What helped them be so good in Boston was the addition of some wing firepower. They don't have Frank Field. They don't have Evan Lindley. They don't have Trevor Weiskircher. They certainly don't have Nick Hunt. I don't believe Garrett Minyard is planning on playing. Like they're really going to struggle on the wings here unless a miracle happens, and that's been exactly the recipe for them to really struggle in the East Division regular season. So I don't know if I want to pick it necessarily, but circle on your schedule that Force versus Frontiersman match, because I wouldn't be that surprised to see a repeat of that upset from last year.
Yeah, this is a dangerous pool for Force, and it's really unfortunate they ended up in this because if they beat Frontier, they're going to play a very hot Beer City Brewers team and Cleveland Kong, which is just a consistent team that, is coming in as the reigning champs of this tournament, right? You definitely don't want to lose to Frontier because of the exact same reason. You're going to run into one of those other two teams right after that. And so this, if Force does what they need to do, yeah, they can definitely come out on top in this tournament. However, this is definitely the toughest pool for them in this tournament, and it's going to be really interesting to see how this pans out. I think this is definitely the pool that really needs the most focus because there's so much implication in this for Force with them trying to earn their a spot in the playoffs, obviously. But then Kong is another one that's really working hard towards their promotion, really working to try to get the to tier 2 championships, and Brewers and Frontiermen, what they're doing, they're just starting out, but they have so much I want to say like energy. You kind of don't really know what to expect from them. They're kind of coming in as that underdog mentality, and you don't want to be a team that just sleeps on any of those underdogs that are going to come in and do pretty well. And Beer City Brewers definitely did pretty well when they played in Chicago. So it's going to be a really interesting pool to see how this pans out.
Yeah, very, very interesting. And for Cleveland, that team that came into it was last year, was in Buffalo and won the East Division Cup in 2022. I'm confused by Cleveland because that team that went in and did that, I haven't seen a single one of those players at all since. Like none of those guys. I know that Cleveland and Columbus have kind of shared some guys, and like Joe Bortak was on that Cleveland team, and it was Steel City now in Pittsburgh. But that Cleveland team that won that tournament last year just isn't the same as they are now. It is not the same group of guys. Cleveland did go to tier 2 championships last year and did not play very well. So I'm confused. I'm interested to see what exactly this Cleveland team has, because last year they came out of nowhere. They had a phenomenal roster. They played ridiculously clean volleyball to beat Boston in the finals, and ever since we haven't really seen that same group of guys. So can this group of the Cleveland, now branded as the Cleveland Kong guys, can they pull the similar miracle? If you had to ask me now, I don't really see it, but I also didn't see it last year, so you never know.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, like, if you look at what Kong did last year, or his team ECV last year, they went into Chicago, lost every single match, then turned around and literally won the tournament in the East Division.
Worst to first, yep.
and then they really tapered off after that. They really, they earned what they did with earning the cup win. Then they went into the VLA Cup, didn't perform amazing. I think we expected them to kind of keep that momentum. They didn't. They fizzled out there. definitely fizzled out in Tier 2 championships. And then I think that they recognized maybe there were some issues and put something together that maybe will give them a little bit more longevity. But they still have time to kind of figure things out. They didn't play bad at the Central Division Cup. I believe they advanced to the second round of the playoffs.
Yeah, they won a bracket game. I think they beat the Unicorns in the first round. So top 8 at that tournament is very, very nice.
Right, and so I think that they are doing the right things. I think that we just perhaps expected a little bit more after they went and won that tournament. And I think that they are kind of they lost a lot just naturally from the expansion in that area. I mean, we've got 4 or 5 teams now compared to the one that was there before. And so I think that Kong is doing the right things. Their roster's a little bit more consistent, and we'll see how they perform together. But I don't really see these guys, like you said, though, we didn't see them doing it last year. I even more so don't see them doing it this year. But they have, I think, some favorable matchups in this event. I think that Beer Street Brewers is a good matchup for them to get a win here in this first round. Whether they see Force, who is a little bit weaker of a team that roster wise that was played a couple weeks ago. Maybe, or if they see Frontiersmen, who they've actually played twice this year.
Yeah, they've played a couple times.
And so if they run into any of those teams, they have actually had pretty good success against the field in this pool. So I still like their chances in this pool.
Yeah, I would definitely pick Cleveland over Beer City in the first game. The Brewers, I think they're just a little too new still. They did get a point over the weekend, played the Midwest MAC up in Michigan. They got, I think, 3 points from 3 separate 5-set losses in Chicago. And so they're starting to play a bunch of volleyball, which is awesome. I know they're really motivated. I'm decently familiar with the Michigan volleyball community, so I know a bunch of those guys. It's cool to see them out there. I would, though, pick Cleveland's top-level talent and experience to win that first bracket game there, like the 4 versus the 9. But yeah, the Frontiersmen, I kind of like this team. They're rolling in pretty deep, even though they're not hosting this year at the Niagara Frontier Club in West Seneca. They're having to drive out east to Albany. They're rolling in pretty deep. I do like Will Cornell, their setter, a lot. They've got some nice size. Taylor Sutherland is a really big wing, a 6'7" out of St. Francis. So Mike Gold is a guy I know as well. Don't sleep on Niagara Frontier. And I hope I'm sending this message directly to the Northeast Force. They already know this. Do not sleep on the Niagara Frontiersmen. I'm very excited for that particular match.
Yeah, exactly. I think that everyone's aware that a low seed in this tournament can very well do a lot of damage, and you really can't look past anyone in any of these events, really. I mean, there's just so much talent and depth, and the teams are relatively equal across the board. You just can't look past anybody. Yeah, sure, there's favorable matchups, but there's in Force's situation here, this is definitely not a favorable matchup for them, especially when they're kind of desperate for points. And Frontier really has nothing to lose. They're not playing for a whole lot other than just some, the event itself. And they they like to save face in their own state. And I think that they play that with that mentality. They're going to be a dangerous team.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, not a great draw for Force as far as 1 seeds go. Decent draw for Cleveland as far as 2 seeds go. So bracket pool here. Curious to see how that goes. That's it for the teams. That's it for the pools. Let's take a look at the bracket here. Pretty simple 10-team bracket. If you finish top 2 in your pool, you go straight to the round of 8, so straight to the quarterfinals. If you finish 3rd in a pool, or that 1 4th place team there in Pool C, you have to play a play-in game right after pool play is done on Saturday afternoon to get to the round of 8. And if you do that, even if you win that game, you're going to see a 1 seed. So huge premium. I'm finishing top 2 in a pool at this event, and especially looking at Pool C in that bracket pool format, those first matches to guarantee top 2 in that pool are going to be huge.
Yeah, those are going to be some very exciting matches, and I think that I feel like those 2 matches are really going to make or break the tournament for either of them, because I don't think that, and not to say that it's going to be Bounce and LVC, but no one wants to see LVC in the first round. No one wants to see Bounce. So in any tournament, really, not just this East Division Cup. I mean, no one wants to see them, in the first round of a of a VLA Cup or anything. So definitely not an elimination game.
Right. Yeah. It's I love this tournament because it's 10 teams, and from seeds 1 through 10, there's honestly that not that much of a drop off in quality. It's awesome. It's like I'd say the last couple years as the league has evolved and the Cup Series and Tier 2 has evolved, there were once upon a time probably some walkover games in pool play, and those just don't exist anymore. You
Yeah.
have to you must put a really good team out on the court in every single game in order to advance in a pool and put yourself in a good position to make a run in a tournament. Otherwise, you're going to lose. You're going to drop way down in your pool. You're going to have a much harder road. Like there's no such thing as an easy match anymore, and that's awesome. It means everybody top to bottom has gotten a lot better.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've seen it through the last two Cup events.
Oh, totally.
Team Envy has dropped matches in pool play every single time, and it's just going to happen that way more and more because you really can't rest guys. You got to have that depth. You got to have the roster prepared and ready to go. And these higher seeds, especially the Tier 2 ones right now, with the motivation for promotion, I mean, you definitely don't want to drop to a higher seed because then you're giving a higher seed points. They're getting that much closer to you. They're creating that gap. There's a lot of motivation to try to take down some of these higher level teams or higher seeded teams. And I think that I've seen a little bit of that happening. And you've seen these gaps that were at the beginning of the season where you had flow substantially higher than a lot of teams. Kong was pretty high, Lost Travelers, and now it's like the gaps of these standings are just is closing quick for a lot of teams. So there's not a lot of comfort there, and I think that some of these higher ranked teams are going to start to feel it more and more, feel that little bit of pressure.
Good. That's what it's all about. So that's it for the pools and the teams and basically the format. It's really quite simple. 3 pools, everybody makes it out into the bracket. Big premium on finishing top 2 in your pool. Check out the website for any more detail, and that's where we'll be updating it live all weekend long. Another thing that we're excited for, as we are with every Cup Series tournament, is to name the all-tournament team sponsored by the Axio Trainer. Vince, tell us about this.
Axio Trainer, fantastic training mechanism. I mean, it's a little oval. What is it? Circular device, and it rotates. And it's fantastic for shoulders. I use it all the time. My shoulders have been feeling great. I can't wait for my foot to be better so I can go swing again. But yeah, no, we're really excited for the partnership that we have, the Axio Trainer sponsorship that we have for our all tournament teams, and you'll see more and more a lot of these guys posting videos and about some of the workouts that they're doing, and it's been a really we've been really excited about having them be a part of the league.
So the first 2 Cup Series tournaments of the year, the MVP award has been taken by a middle in both tournaments. Hunter Howell in the West, Scott Sawicki in the Central. Could we potentially give another MVP award to a middle this weekend, Vince? How crazy would that be?
Well, I would say of all tournaments that have happened this year, this would be the most likely that a middle would get the MVP as opposed to any of the other 2. And my reasoning for that is Skylar Kaufman and Blake Leeson. I think that both of them without a doubt be the top player in this tournament. And they play each other, great battles. Blake Leeson, obviously one of the top players in the league. Skylar Kaufman, all VLA last year. And so it's definitely possible that a middle could take the MVP for this all tournament team. But I mean, they got to play it out. They got to perform like a Scott Sawicki or a Hunter Howell, but they definitely have the capability to do so.
I do love middles. I have a soft spot in my heart for them. So we'll see if one of them can take some hardware. We'll have 2 of them on the all tournament team regardless, but see if we can maybe squeeze in a third. Let's go back up to the top of the page here. Live spectators, if you're in Albany, come show up to this event. It's at the Impact Athletic Center. It's beautiful. We're looking forward to it. I think it's shared with a juniors event as well. I think there's going to be a bunch of volleyball being played all over the place. So we're gonna have just natural spectators already there, like we do at a lot of our regular season events. But it will be the first time we're having one of those at a cup tournament, so that's going to be really cool. And then broadcast wise, it's going to be pretty similar to what you've seen through all the Cup Series tournaments this season. Every match, every court, no matter what, will have its own dedicated stream. It'll be here on the YouTube channel, available for members only. So pick up a subscription to that or a membership to that for just 99 cents a month. Always, if you're looking for a members only stream, you can't find it, check the community tab on the YouTube channel homepage. There's a link to it here. But also remember the schedule, that there are no set times for matches on Saturday. They'll just start 30 minutes after the previous match ends. So every match will have its own dedicated stream, but we'll also have our guy Michael Wooten there helping run us a great broadcast, and we'll have VLA all day, running all day long on Saturday and Sunday, where we'll cover both courts. I'll be commentating both of them, switching between, and just kind of keeping you up on all the storylines of the tournament. So that's how you can watch right here on the YouTube channel. It's going to be awesome, like it always is.
Yeah, really excited, really excited. Find the links. We'll be posting them on social media, Facebook, Instagram, everything like that.
Yep. Yeah. You know where to find us. The website here is a great resource. YouTube is where all the matches will be at. Instagram will be popping off for sure. So stay tuned to all those places as usual. That's honestly kind of it for this tournament, Vince. We got one other thing we got to talk about before the show is over, but anything else about the East Division Cup before I fly out to New York on Friday?
No, I think we covered the extent of the tournament for sure.
It's going to be a great event. 10 teams in Albany. I'm looking forward to being there. I see CJ Dank in the chat. Finally, he's showing his face at an event. I'm excited to see you, CJ. It's going to be awesome. And yeah, that's about it. So before we end the show, it's been a while since I've done one of these, and there's been a lot of volleyball that has happened since the last Tier 1 power rankings. And it's time now that all the Tier 1 teams have played 2 events. It's time for me to just kind of evaluate my takes on where I would rank the league. And here they are. Let's go through them. Number 1, I've still got the SoCal Rising Tide. I had them there after their West Division Cup win. It was before the Central Division Cup. I had them at number 1. Even after the Central Division Cup, I still have the Rising Tide number 1 and the Chicago Icemen number 2. Talk about why in a minute. Team LVC, I've got at number 3. They've dropped down a little bit because of their really rough weekend in Boston, but I know they're going to right the ship probably as soon as this weekend. I've got Vince's Phoenix Ascension number 4. I really like the consistency. I really like the way you guys played at home in Phoenix. I've got Team Pineapple number 5, who I think are the ultimate wild card in the league. I've got the Boston Bounce number 6, honestly a pretty similar wild card in the league. Like they could easily beat some of the top 3 teams, or I mean, we saw them go 0-2 against Northeast Force a few weekends ago. I do have the Northeast Force number 7. I think the first power rankings ever that we've done that the Northeast Force was not in dead last, so good for them, but hopefully they can keep it going this weekend. And unfortunately, that means there's a new number 8, and that is Swede. I really didn't like the way they managed their team at the Chicago tournament. I've got them number 8 for now. They've got an uphill climb to the playoffs. Vince, your preliminary thoughts on my opinions of where the teams are at through 2 events each in Tier 1.
I think this is exactly what the teams have earned. You know, like you said, Rising Tide definitely came out. They have shown that they have much better depth and consistency of their showing with their roster. You definitely saw that when they came out to Phoenix and played in their event, in our second event, and they were able to still take 2 points off of us, whereas the previous year they went 0-4. I think that they're showing a lot more capability, a lot more focus on trying to compete in the league, and I think that Rising Tide definitely earns that 1 spot.
Yeah, they're just so deep. That's the difference between the Rising Tide and the Icemen to me. That like position for position, starting lineup wise, it's pretty darn close. But in terms of number of options off the bench, the Rising Tide are just absolutely unmatched in the league. Their group of wings or really just outside hitters alone, any other team in the league would kill to have that number of options. The Icemen in particular, who are really thin at outside hitter these days. And that'll change when some guys get back from overseas just in time for the VLA Cup. But for right now, I like the Rising Tides roster top to bottom ever so slightly more than the Icemen. And same kind of goes for Team LVC. When I make these rankings, it's based on what we've already seen, probably like 80% what we've already seen and 20% what I expect to see. And I think if it was just about what we'd already seen, Team LVC would actually be even a little bit lower than this because the way they played in Boston was not good. But I know what we're going to see from Team LVC, and that includes this coming weekend, and that is the consistent high, like championship caliber level that we're used to. But for their bad performance in Boston, I couldn't put them higher than third. And then with Vince, your guys, what I like about the Phoenix Ascension is the very, very high floor. You guys don't lose to teams that are worse than you. I think a lot of teams in the league could take a lot of note from that. The Ascension doesn't really ever get upset by anybody that's a shocker. You guys beat the teams you're supposed to beat. You go deep in tournaments. Occasionally you beat superstar teams, but the consistency and the guys that I know are showing up to the mix for Phoenix in the next month or so. You guys might even be able to move up higher than 4, but it's going to be difficult to overtake LVC, Icemen, or Rising Tide.
Yeah, I think that with us right now, we have just like we have a handful of guys coming back from overseas, and we're expecting that to elevate us a little bit. But I think that that's kind of what all of those teams are doing. So I think that we're kind of in the right place at the 4 spot. I think that we need to kind of prove that we can be an LVC or an Iceman or a Rising Tide that's full strength. Not that we didn't in Phoenix, but they still weren't quite the Rising Tide that you can see. And so I think that we have to kind of prove that we're a top 3 team right now. I mean, I think that we are that second tier of teams right there, 4, 5, 6. We're on top of those teams, but again, I mean, we're going to see those teams in at the VLA Cup, Team Pineapple, Bounce, and Force, Swede. Like, we haven't really had any of those situations where, like you said, other than maybe losing to Buddy Bears / Slunkers last year in the West Division Cup, we really haven't been upset by teams that we shouldn't have beat. I think that we, like you said, we're pretty consistent. We do a good job taking care of the teams that we need to. We just need to have a little bit better success against those top 3.
Yep, and I'm looking forward to seeing if you guys have a chance to prove it in May. That VLA Cup is going to be insane. But yeah, first up, all attention on Albany. Not much to say about kind of the rest of the list. Team Pineapple is a wild card that you really could put them anywhere. Boston, if they have the weekend this weekend that I'm expecting them to have, I expect them to move up at least 1 spot, if not a little more, if they can maybe hoist some hardware. And Northeast Force, they're kind of under pressure right now. See if they can stay out of the bottom of the power rankings. If they fail to win their pool, I might just have to knock them back down unless they make a miracle run in the bracket. So we'll see.
Yeah, and Swede's in a tough spot too because they're going to continue to see Iceman and Team Pineapple. That's the danger of being in the Central Division. And so when they're really going to have to make their move at VLA Cup, I think. They may be able to get some points off of Pineapple and Iceman, but if they do
Louisville too, they need 2 wins bare minimum, probably more like 3. Louisville Central Division regular season event coming up in like 2 weeks. That's going to be huge for Swede. Similar spot to where Northeast Force was going into Boston, and they delivered. So pressure on Swede to do the same.
Yeah, and I think that they have. I know their roster. I think that they have the capability. I know that the way that they play together. It's just this year, for whatever reason, being in Tier 1, maybe hasn't quite had the same type of underdog mentality that they had last year, where they went out and had a lot of fight in them. I think that not that they don't fight hard, but they just haven't had that little something special that has given them the potential to earn the points that they did like they did last year. Because last year, I mean, they cleaned house. I mean, almost getting 46 points, I believe, for the season. which is ridiculous because the only team that did get higher more points than them was Team LVC, and so I think that they have the potential to do it. It's whether or not they can find it in and dig deep to really do it.
Oh yeah. So the Central Division will get their chance. Regular season event number 2 coming up in just about 2 weeks in Louisville. But before then, all eyes on the East Division Cup. So we've got the pools. You got Pool A, LVC, Lost Travelers, and Unicorns. Pool B, Bounce, Flow, and Crimson. Those 2 are round robin pools. Pool C, Force takes on Frontiersmen in the first round. Kong takes on Brewers in the first round. Winners play for first and second. Losers play for third and fourth. Goes into this single elimination bracket just like this. So that's the East Division Cup. Check it out on the website for all the detail. Check it out on YouTube for all the matches. And check it out on Around the VLA probably next week, probably next Tuesday, right, Vince, where we can wrap it all up?
Yep, looking for Tuesday.
Beautiful. All right, ladies and gentlemen, have a great night. It is past midnight on the East Coast, so go to bed. We will see you on Saturday bright and early for the VLA East Division Cup. Can't wait.